Madam X, the founder of the Occult Science Temple in 1934 in Detroit, Michigan. On the heels of Noble Drew Ali, Nation of Islam, Fruit of Islam, Nation of Islam, but first you see Madam X. So this is the first, what you would say, I guess, long lost X, Madam X for the Nation of Islam. But we know Malcolm X, but then he found out the X as far as being unknown and not knowing who your ancestors was. He knew that was BS. He received his gnosis and he was El Hajj Malik Shabazz, El. Ali was tested on his gnosis and found out that he was an adept born and he was a prophet. Ali, honor your foremothers and forefathers. But we're also going to get into Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who set up his mosque in Detroit as well. And the Jews assisted him in that. Just like NOI stands real close beside the Jews in these days and times. We have the images on Amexem Almanac, Farrakhan having banquets with the Jews. But here in 1923, Mufti Muhammad Sadiq set up a mosque in Detroit, Michigan to convert Christians into Mohammedanism. However, we know Noble Drew Ali was already doing that job. But see, within the Muslim sunrise, as it said then, you see on the cover it has bullet points of where all their operations are going to be at. See, he was set up and sent by the Jews to subvert and undermine what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was bringing. In the Muslim sunrise at that time, it said the salvation of the American Negro. He was labeling him already in his own literature as a Negro. When Noble Drew Ali was already past that, he wasn't bringing you an X or not an explanation. He had El Bay, Day, Al, and Ali. Noble Drew Ali was bringing the true old religion back, the true gnosis, and they was trying to subvert it. All of them was ganging up in Detroit, and the prophet said the grass is going to grow up in Detroit, and Chicago and Detroit got to pay for what they did to I, your prophet. So all these people was intermingled. But this Madam X, Mary Speedwell, founder of the Occult Science Temple of Detroit, Michigan. I have never heard an NOI member, Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, Fard's literature, I've never heard them speak of this mother. And to be honest, I hold her with more authority than any of them because the mother gives the law and the son enforces. But yet again, she was holding this X. So either she knew and was trying to fool, or she didn't know. And I moved to punch in here and speak on this as well. There's the Mary again. Remember on the, I believe it was the second, this is the third video, but on the second video, I believe we was reading through the FBI file where Farad had two contacts on his prison list, and it was a Mary and it was a Pearl. So I'm gonna go back and see if it was Speedwell, because if it was, then he was directly connected with this Madam X. See, that's where you mess up, Nation of Islam. It's because the Moors, they study, because we want the gnosis and the art and truth so that we can unfold into perfection and be just, so that repentance may be forgotten. My will is not what leads me to this information. Like before I study, Allah, my protector, my guide, and my salvation. When I pray the Moorish prayer, then I go study, Allah is going to guide me to this art. The Occult Science Temple, with offices at 4698 Harding Avenue, is making preparation for a unique program of occult science demonstrations at the Lucy Thurman branch of the YWCA, corner of St. Antoine and Elizabeth Street, on Thursday night, June 14th at 8:30. The special feature on the evening program will be Madam X, who while in a dead trance will answer questions, call names, and carry out many other performances within the field of the occult. The proceeds of the program are for the benefit of the new institution, I bet, Nation of Islam, the Spiritual Health Temple, which is designed to be a home for convalescents. The Occult Science Temple is a religious organization established for the development of the occult and spiritualism according to MMA Mary E. Speedwell, its founder and gilding head. Officers of the organization are Miss F. Hardiman, President Miss Alice Taylor, and A.W. Stone, Treasurer. So let me get this straight. An X was answering your questions while in a dead trance. You got that right, and they're doing it to this day as well. They're answering your questions while in a dead trance, feeding you pig snout soup. That's what the Grand Sheikh said. Y'all eating pig snout soup. But I want to go back to Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, because within that newspaper, it speaks of, he gives a theme of what Jesus would answer to the immigration officer if he came to North America. And it's interesting because he speaks on nationality and of his last so-called name and everything. And he really gives it away, man, that they was not bringing you the gnosis that Noble Drew Ali was. Because remember, Nation of Islam stated Noble Drew Ali didn't have enough knowledge in Islam to keep it going. But Noble Drew Ali had way more superior gnosis, and it is clear. Because they was saying X, they didn't even have the divine ancient titles back to the land, to the birthrights, to divine and earthly salvation. Immigration officer, please raise your hand and take an oath that all you say will be true. Jesus, I do not believe in taking oaths. It is not right. Straight gassing it to the circle 7 right there. Don't give oaths because it spreads shame upon your face. What is your name? Jesus. What is your first name? This is my first name. What is your second name? I have no second name. This is my only name. Now, you know, Jesus said, honor your foremothers and forefathers so that your days may be what? Long upon the earth plane. So you know that he had his ancestors' appellation. This is showing that either they don't know or they're trying to hold it from you. They was trying to build you into that X. What is your father's name? I have no father. Funny, how were you born? Miraculously, without a father. You have Jesus right here dishonoring his forefathers right here. We know Joseph was his father. I found this image with the turban and fez of Joseph. Now, I'm not saying that he was this pale, but I'm just saying we know that his feet was like burner brass and hair like lamb's wool. But nonetheless, miraculously, without a father. What is funny to you is right with God. Could you tell me how Adam was born without a father and without a mother? I do not know. What is your nationality? I am a Jew. What did Ali say? Woe to those who call themselves who? Yeah, this was set up by the Jews. Do you believe in the law of Moses, which allows polygamy? Surely I do. Whoever shall break the least of the commandments of the law of Moses, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Why are your hands pierced? Because I was unjustly nailed to the cross, which is Jesus's justice. What is your profession? I am a preacher of God, word. See, they're putting Jesus into a Europeanized, and you can tell that this is the Ahmadiyya movement is being pushed by the Jew, because the Jews make a lot of finance from all of when the Christians came into Jerusalem, they made a lot of finance through all the celebrations where the Christians copied the Pentecost. Every 50 years, the Jews have it, but the Christians took it on and celebrated every year. So whenever they would come to them temples, they would always celebrate. They would get their finance, and the Jews, they made a lot of what? Let's look into the glossary of the Moorish words. Moozoonahs. Them Jews is after the Moozzoonah. The Nation of Islam is after the Moozzoonahs. The fruit of Islam, all of these people, man, all these so-called conscious people that ain't in the Moorish Science Temple or don't have any of the Moorish Science Gnosis and don't speak of nationality as the order of the day, they're after your Moozoonahs, a Moorish coin. So what's the conclusion that I have in regards to this Mary who established the Occult Science Temple in Detroit 5 years after Noble Drew Ali passed? Well, I see Mary comes up a lot. Like with Noble Drew Ali's marriage license, with that Mary, Noble Drew Ali specifically said, don't go and buy your wife from the European. But after Noble Drew Ali passed, what would they need to access his inheritance? A marriage license. So Madam X, Detroit, 1934, founder of the Occult Science Temple of Detroit, Michigan. So this was the first X, man, and she established it. So basically, you could say she established the Nation of Islam. I don't hear none of the NOI speaking about this mother. So they don't know how to preserve, and they definitely don't know how to study, man. I ain't seen it in any literature I've seen, but I don't get into their literature because anytime I read it, I automatically see Noble Drew Ali in it. So I go to the original Gnosis, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America's literature from Noble Drew Ali. So I'm going to now go pull the Articles of Incorporation of the Occult Science Temple of Detroit, Michigan, and see who all's nomens is on it. You know what I mean? Because I'm just opening up every door. So when I say this could be Noble Drew Ali's wife, Mary, or it could be an inheritor and they was using her, I don't know, man, but I'm going to open up every door and look around. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm going to go pull this article of incorporation. It said that they was organized as a religious organization, and all of them was doing exactly what Noble Drew Ali was doing, but doing it in a de facto way. It's a perfect sense of how to know what is de jure and de facto. And think of Nation of Islam and what this Madam X, Farrakhan was bringing. It's the de facto Moorish Science Temple. I just looked online and I see that some people did mention Madam X, like Patrick Bowen has it in one of his books on Brill.com, but it doesn't have the image of the mother. So I have the image for you. So that's a favor for you, Nation of Islam. That's like your long lost Madam X that you don't never speak about because she copied Ali. Then there's another reference, Occult Science by Steiner Rudolph. The price for that book is 450 notes. The PDF I was telling you about with Patrick Bowen, that's 45 notes. I gotta speak on this. Like I always say, in regards to the Europeans, Patrick Bowen, Peter Moon, Peter Lamborn Wilson, all these Europeans, all the notes, all the Moozoonahs they made off of their books, how much of that did they put back into the Moorish nation? You know what I mean? How much work and how much dedication and study time do they have in regards to the Moors? This man's asking 45 Moozoonahs for his PDF. Like this year, I put out 2 books, and they're my books. I asked 5 notes apiece, 5 Moozoonahs. And then I had people comment saying, I'm asking for finance. But I made the 2 booklets, and I asked for 5 Moozoonahs. The herbs booklet, your ancestors' list of herbs that they took in 1876, the Moors Herbs booklet of 1876, and the Moorish children's story. So Little GreenStar and the Moorish Herbs booklet, your ancestors' list of herbs that they used to heal themselves with naturopathic remedies. Both of them I'll put out this year. So I'm going to ask for my Moozoonahs, man, because these Europeans are asking 45 notes for the PDF. It's on the site for 5 Moozoonahs. Peace and love. 45 damn Moozoonahs for a PDF.